versus you. It's you 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 versus you. Time to clear your mental, everything you've been through. Looking in the mirror like you're the one with the issues. You against yourself, feel like you against the world. Internally battling all of the trauma you struggle to.
All right, what's up, everybody? My name is Saquon. I'd like to welcome you all back to the You versus You podcast. This is the second episode of the Roundtable Edition. And I'm really excited about this episode, more particularly the brother that we're going to be interviewing today. I met this brother in the gym. As you all know, I spend a lot of time in the gym. The gym has been a key focal point, crucial component to my mental health journey. So I'm in there quite a bit. And this brother here is one of the first people that I actually encountered in the gym. And I was immediately smitten by his level of engagement. He's the type of person that says, "Good morning, how you doing?" and genuinely means it and remains present for the answer that he's getting. So it started that way, and there was always a word of encouragement. "Hey man, you're looking good. I see your body changing. Keep up the great work," so on and so forth. And then that small talk sort of led to a little bit more in-depth conversations beneath the surface level. And I got an opportunity to really understand what this brother is about. He's an extremely successful entrepreneur, but his entrepreneurship is rooted in a consciousness. So it's a conscious component to his capitalistic pursuits that I was immediately blown away by. He's incredibly active in the community. He is rooted spiritually. So the conversations that we would have are just amazing. So I'm delighted to have this brother on the show, Brother Renault. Welcome so much to the show, man.
Thank you.
Thank you so much for your time. I really appreciate it, man. So let's dive right into it. Your credentials, man, because I mean, when you run off your list, I mean, you have to be in shape just to even hear everything that you have going on, man. So tell us about it.
Yeah, well, my background is cybersecurity. And what I realize is that technology is a foundation and something that you can learn. But if you can take what you learn in technology and you can apply that to life in general, and it's interesting how the mind works, because there's a quote that I have in my book, and it states that more people spend more money on the outside of their head than the inside of their head, and they're wondering why they're not getting ahead. So when you think about it, when you can develop the mind, it's like the body, it's a muscle, and it retracts if you don't use it. But the net of it is when I met you, it was something that I needed from you as well. And so energy is both kinetic as well as its storage. And so it has to keep moving. And so my background, again, is I started in tech, cybersecurity. But what I quickly realized is that my gift was connecting with people. And when I started connecting with people, they needed a public speaker to speak at this event. If I can tell the story, tell me if I'm going too long, because sometimes I feel like a Baptist preacher at a rap concert. Right? and so the speaker couldn't make it. And the person said, "Would you be willing to give a talk?" And I said, "I'll do it." And they
Hold on, time out. So the speaker wasn't there in real time. They asked you in the moment.
Correct. They asked me, would I be willing to give a talk? Now, mind you, the only person that I had spoken in front of was 12 people, and that was my family members, right?
Wow.
And so they put me on stage, and what I noticed, the other speakers, they would talk in layman's terms. Well, no, cryptic terms, I would say, rather. And they would talk about buffer overflows, cross-site scripting. People don't understand that. And they asked me, when I got on stage, I said, I just drank 2 Red Bulls, and I just had my 60-inch TV delivered. This is going to be a quick presentation. The net of it, I became a public speaker for a Fortune 500 company.
Wow.
And I spoke to Harvard. I gave state senate testimonials, okay? And this is a kid that didn't go to college. And in fact, when I gave my talk at Harvard, I get off stage and the person said, hey, great talk, Harvard 2009. I said, yeah, it was Harvard. But it was Harvard Driving School, and my PhD was passion, hard work, and determination. So just having that drive of wanting to learn and wanting to connect brought me onto this journey of leaving corporate and starting my business. But my business is how I put money in my pocket, but the community is what gives me the thrills to impact and encourage and inspire and equip others. And that's why I'm here. I'm here because of you. I'm here because of what we can do. And I can't wait until we dive in. I feel like a mosquito at a nudist camp. I can't wait to stick in. Sorry. I know that's a bad visual.
No, that's great.
You gotta be over 13 to listen to this right now. I'm letting you know.
No, you just go, man. So yeah, so that crucial intangible, the ability to connect with people and sort of meet them where they are. Do you think that you sort of saw that you had this ability, or it came into fruition when you did that public speaking engagement, and then sort of just knew at that moment that, listen, this is where my heart beats?
Yeah. I think I've always had it. I'm a country kid, and living in the country, there's a lot of love. I left the country and I moved to the city. And in the city, you got to learn how to box really quickly, right? But one thing is that I knew how I could connect with people, and I was always good at telling those jokes, right? So those jokes, kept me safe. But being able to take the ability and having that love of being raised by a grandmother, and then the wisdom, if you will, of the street, and being able to combine it. So I always had it. And just putting it together when I was asked to come to the stage, right? And I think that's what it is. And honestly, if I can go off script a little bit, everyone has a gift, right?
Yes.
Gift, G-I-F-T, God included favorable tool. When you dig into that gift, I'm telling you, that gift will expand. You don't pursue that, you have the ability to attract. And when I realized that genuine love for people and caring for people, that is what drives the business. And people don't care how much you know until they know how much you care, right? Seriously, I have customers calling me around the holiday. Just want to tell you I love you. Come on now, okay? Make sure we sign the contract. Okay. So anyway, I just tell you that to tell you that I love this. I love what you're doing. I love what we will be doing, because the world needs this. They need love. They need kindness. When you talk about mental health, that's what it's all about. Not just some, Instagram person that has photoshopped a fake life, right? This is the real deal.
Right.
So.
That's awesome. So your capitalistic pursuit, and those who understand capitalism, those who understand economics, the free marketplace, they understand that you need a competitive advantage, a thing or a series of things that differentiates you from your competitors, with the hopes of consuming as much of the market share as possible. And it seems like your willingness to engage with people and really get granular is your secret sauce. So tell me how you were able to utilize this great skill that you have to sort of build a solid nucleus of a team that took you all around the world.
Wow, well said. Okay, here's the thing right here. First of all, people don't believe in your purpose until they believe into the person. Does that make sense?
Perfect sense.
So when people, they know you, they know your intentions, they want to be a part of it. Okay, that's the first thing you do, right? And what great leaders do is you align a person's passion with a position that makes any sense. And then you just get out the way. And that's all I did when I thought about, okay, what do I need in a company? A company's going to have a sales department. Their job is to make the sales. You have an operations department to fulfill the sales. You have a finance department to ensure that you pay taxes and oversight and buildings. And then you have marketing, you have IT, you name it. So what you do is you find people that align to those different areas, right? And the goal of the leader is just to cast a vision. I said this before. I spoke at an event over in Johannesburg. we don't see with our eyes. We think we see with our eyes. Our eyes is just a portal. It's the lens. And it sends a message to the optic nerve, and the optic nerve sends it to the brain. Therefore, you see with the brain. So when you're a visionary, you can visioneer things. Does that make sense?
Perfect sense.
Yeah. So
Sort of like alchemy. It's funny because my 9 to 5, I'm in management.
Yep.
And I think that management is such a crucial skill, particularly in this time. And what that enables one to do, providing they become proficient at that particular intangible, is you can take a business. You alluded to it a moment ago. The structure of most businesses is typically the same, right? You have accounts payable, you have accounts receivable, you have certain businesses, you have R&D, research and development, you have risk management, human resource, you have M&A, mergers and acquisitions, and then you have your executive leader team. But like you said, when you have that leadership component where you're able to give the keys to the kingdom to your underlings, for lack of a better term, show them what their value add is and how they contribute that value add to your overall performance of that business. It sort of embeds in them the psyche of them being invaluable to your vision, and then they'll run through a wall for you. Right. So it seems like, so you took that and you're in seminars in New York and you're in Johannesburg. Most recently, you were in South Africa, Johannesburg, right?
How
was that?
Oh, it was amazing. In fact, I want to go back to the airport and leave today and go back. I'll tell you, it was amazing. And the mission was really to have our gala. So can I talk about the program a little
Please,
bit?
absolutely.
Okay. So we got the for-profit, we got the nonprofit. The for-profit is cybersecurity services, sales, and then the nonprofit, and this is what I get excited about. The nonprofit is tech and life skills. So if you think about it this way, the technical training allows one to get their foot on the ladder, okay? But then the life skills takes them up the ladder. The worst thing in life is to be on a ladder and your ladder's against the wrong house, right? And so these are 12-week programs that we have for cybersecurity. And then the life skills, there are 5 areas, and we're gonna talk about some of those areas as well. It's faith, fitness, family, finance, fun. So it's not faith where you got to have one foot on the Bible reading, up on this rock I shall build his cross, right? But it's faith in the sense of the things that we do in the community. It's faith in the sense of the things we do in terms of gratitude. And then when you think about fitness, that's where we met, right? You need to know your numbers. I don't care if it's your prostate numbers. I don't care if it's your cholesterol numbers. I don't care if it's your sugar numbers, right? So, and then obviously when you think about finance, it takes action to make money. But then it takes your discipline to keep that money, right? But then it takes wisdom to grow your money. So when you think about investing in the stock market and cryptocurrency and precious metals, wow, I tell you. And then family and friends is important. We got something, it's called Friendship Fridays. Basically, I pay, they pray. I take my friends anywhere they want to go in the city, but they must pray, right? Took my son out not too long ago. He said, Dad, I forgot to pray. I don't want to pray because I forgot to. I don't know how to, rather. I said, well, why don't you just pay? He said, okay, well, Jesus is good. It was some expensive tacos, right? And then last but not least, fun. Because if you think about it, you need to release that inner child in you. Yes. And I took singing lessons earlier this year. I think I was, singing a little bit. Don't you remember? Anyway, I'll stop because I don't want to start accepting tips too early because it'll mess up the show, right? So anyway, so that's the program. So we had people that went through the program last year, and the graduation was in Cape Town, South Africa.
Wow.
Now, we had people over for the first time. Amazing. Everything went well, a lot of planning for sure. And that was 5 days. And part of that trip was also going to Kruger National Park. We went on the safari. I dropped my Ray-Bans, and that was 300 feet away from the carcass of a giraffe, 2 male lions, and a leopard, and I was getting ready to get out. So thank God that I didn't.
I'm glad you didn't.
I wouldn't be here.
Yes.
So if you see a leopard with some Ray-Bans on, tell him he owes me, right? She owes me, right? So the net of it, and then we left out of Johannesburg. Everyone flew back. So it was a total of 10 days they were there, but I stayed there 60 days. I stayed there 60 days because we are looking to expand our program to Johannesburg, and I'm happy to say that we have a pilot group ready and able to go. They'll be kicking off here soon, and it's going to be both the tech side as well as the life skills. And then also we have a business presence over in Johannesburg, and we're looking for a residence, of which we'll have a house, and then we'll have a legacy life center.
Wow.
So when I tell you every objective was hit, so that's in place, and I hope to see you all. But here's the thing right here is that God's gift to us is life. And what we do in this life is I give back to him. Right? So.
Absolutely. That's wonderful. Everything that you were able to accomplish while there, I'm sure it was a transforming moment of catharsis for you and everyone that may have been there along with you. But you specifically were so inspired that you created this mini ebook, The DNA of the Bulletproof Man, which I had the opportunity to read, and I found it to be extremely impactful, and I felt like it correlated immensely with my mental health journey, and I was able to identify disconnects within my development journey that I had been dealing with now for the better part of 2 years, and then a lot of it was also confirmation, right? So I think that that's a perfect segue to dive right into the DNA of a bulletproof man. So explain that to us.
Yeah, so if you think about it, if you think about a bulletproof vest, the worst thing is to have a bulletproof vest and some boxer shorts on.
Right.
Just get that mental, right?
I immediately thought 50 Cent, but yeah.
So if you think about it, let me slow down a little bit, because everything rises and falls on leadership. We can agree with that, right?
Agreed.
You show me a breach in a family, and I'll show you a breach in a man. Okay? Strong men build strong families. Strong families build strong communities. Strong communities build strong countries at the end of the day, right? So when I think about the DNA and what makes a bulletproof man, I think about the certain qualities that we're going to talk through. Now, this is not lip service. This is life service. This is a life that I live. And I've mentored hundreds of men around the world over the last 20 years, right? And a lot of them on some of the concepts that we're going to talk through. And so every year after Christmas, what I do is I'll review my calendar. Who do I need to spend time with? Who do I need to stop spending time with? And then I'll reflect on experiences and notes that I have. I have a virtual journal and I have a physical journal. And basically what I did is I took all of my notes and quotes from my journal and I transposed that into the ebook itself. And I said, wouldn't it be helpful to share the stuff that I'm eating with others? And I had to make it an ebook, because they said the average person reads 18 pages and so of a book. So I was just going to make it big pictures and quotes. So I was able to get it down in 6 pages.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
So, and I'm sure you'll appreciate this with your spiritual background. Habakkuk 2:2, write the vision down because it's for an appointed time. And you said something that I want to touch upon, particularly for the viewership, because what I heard is you basically wrote down, you reviewed your entire year. But in order to review it, you wrote it down. But it's very important because you gave yourself a quantifiable metric. Right. So and I did that for the first time this year. And for my New Year's post, I put it on social media. Well, I read this many books this year. The One Life Fitness app, it quantifies how many times you worked out in the year. So I was able to see, okay, well, I worked out 230 times this year, right? Which was awesome. So, and what that did for me is because, it's a journey, it's not a destination. And in that journey, we have to learn how to fall in love with the process. So that gave me the ability to, pat myself on the back briefly, but because I had that one quantifiable metric, now I can set realistic goals of improvement for the following year. And I can quantify it. So if I read 29 books this year, the summit of one mountain is nothing but the base of the next mountain. So maybe we read 35 books next year. And in addition to that, and you can get really granular with it. You know what? The 29 books that I read this year touched on these subjects. How did these subjects pour into me,
Yep.
what other subjects do I need to now incorporate to become more of a well-rounded individual? And then with the fitness component, 230
Yes.
workouts is great, but how do we get that up to 300?
Yep.
Right? So you can really get granular with that. So I love the fact that you did that. And I hope that the viewership is able to glean some sort of know-how and inspiration from the importance of
Yep.
write your list down,
Yep.
quantify
Yep.
it, and not be wayward and not leave
Yep.
things to chance.
Yep. Can I expand on
Please.
that? Okay. If you think about it, we're expandable beings. If you
Yes.
think about it, right? The problem is that we have this thing called the wheel, right? If you think about it, and I may have mentioned this to you, if you go to the store and buy goldfish, you don't have to go next door and get instructions on teaching this fish to swim, right? And say, just do your thing. People over, just do your thing, right? Because the essence of the gift is already built into the fish, right? When is the last time you saw a spider going to web design school? Right? And think about birds, right? They just fly. And does the bird choose a tree, or does the tree choose the bird? Right? We're going to talk about some of that. But the net of it is that we can be, grow, do anything that we want to, right? So to your point, if you don't have a system, and I've mentioned system, save yourself some time, energy, and money, guess what? Life will be your system. And if you don't reach out to greatness, average reaches into where you are. And so to your point, start with a list, because you don't have to be perfect to get started, but you do have to start to be perfect, right? And a good thing about it, I tell people, I'm saying, stop reading books now. Start understanding what you are reading, because I've asked people that have read books, so tell me about the book. And it's like, well, the book was kind of about. So this is one thing I say. Read a book and then give me one phrase or one thing that you got about it from it, right? We're going to talk about you study, but then you have to step back and you need observation, but then you need the application of it. And it's the difference between being a river versus a reservoir. A reservoir, it sits. But a river, you're talking about it. And the more you do it, the better you get, because practice doesn't make perfect, but it does make better. So to your point, have that list and review that list. And then every year you can modify, you can tweak. This is my super growth year. What I mean by super growth year, this is what I'm doing right now. And I came up with this not too long ago. When you think about a map, I love acronyms, map. How can I buy more time? Time is that one thing that we can't buy. That's the same, the billionaire and the bomb both have the same amount of time, right? You think about it every day, right? But one is I can buy it with my money, meaning I can have someone do the yard, do the kitchen, right? The second is I can buy it with automation. There are so many apps that are out now, artificial intelligent apps, these little bots that can help you streamline and aggregate information, right? Because I'm a voracious reader, right? So if I want to learn about politics, guess what? Have a bot go out and aggregate everything and just give me the tagline, right? And then I can go deep with that concept and do some additional work. And then last but not least, people being able to delegate and give things. So build your map, right? Because again, time is that one thing that we all don't have enough of.
Absolutely, man. And before we go into each of these topics, I just want you to reiterate that acronym because it was amazing. And I think people can benefit from that. The system acronym, please. Once more.
So system. Save yourself some time, energy, and money. Everyone should have a system. You should have a system for your faith. You should have a system for your fitness, a system for your finance, a system for your family. And it's interesting, before I came over, I can share this. Let me know if we need to jump to another topic, because I'm getting really, really excited now. Right?
Please, you're good.
They say enthusiasm is 10% external, it's 90% internal. If I turn myself inside out, you guys can deal with me. Okay? Right? So before I came over here, this is what I do every Sunday, and it works, and I've been doing it for years. Think about the things that has to happen around the house. Tightening a doorknob, hanging a picture, cleaning out the garage. I put it on my Sunday list. So when I get out of church, I have between a certain time, a 45-minute block, and I try to do as much stuff I have on the list for the house. And it's weird because the list continues to grow each week. But the net of it, I have a dedicated day that I'm working on the house. And then I came up with a system. It's called Mandatory Mondays, Tedious Tuesdays, Wardrobe Wednesdays, Tremendous Thursdays, Fabulous Fridays, Spontaneous Saturdays, and then Super Sundays. Again, Sundays is when I get filled with the word. I come home and I do something around the house, because you can feel happy just crossing something off the list. I remember one time I did something, I forgot to cross off the list. I got up Monday, I said, ah! I had to build that dopamine in. So create systems, but this stuff works. And I've invited people that I've mentored over to my house just to see my system, because you can take the system and you can add to it and you can adjust, but you have to have a system.
Absolutely. DNA of a bulletproof man.
Yeah.
First tip, what is it?
Yeah. Well, the first tip, if you think about it, is it's all about getting your rest, right? And the basic needs of a man, right? There are 4 basic needs of a man. And the first is you got to get your rest. But you can also oversleep. And that has been linked to diabetes. The second is making sure that you have a well-balanced diet, your grains, your fruits. The third is making sure that you have sex, right? So let me, and all the guys like, yeah, this is a good one right here. Well, sex actually.
Let's skip to that part.
Sex actually reduces the risk of you getting prostate cancer. Also, it's good for sleep and it's good for memory. It's like, what had happened was, right? But what I want to imply with sex is that you can also use that as sexual transmutation. And what I mean by that is you can take that urge and align that urge with your vision and your goals and your dreams. And that same willpower that it has on you from a physical standpoint, it will drive you from a mental standpoint. So that was the play on that. So.
Gotcha. Okay, so let's try to get granular on each of those topics. So sleep, first of all, I agree with you on each of those topics, but sleep. One of the things I found at the beginning of my mental health journey was, obviously I was consistently in fight or flight or survival mode. So my sympathetic nervous system was always turned on, and it was drived up to volume 10 because I had a slew of unresolved issues that I didn't even know I had, right? And I was always tired, because when your sympathetic nervous system is turned on consistently, eventually it's going to eat at your immune system. Your digestive system isn't going to work. All of the systems in your body that enable you to achieve a consistent homeostasis is essentially out of whack, right? And I found that with sleep, that was one of the first things that I really had to hone in on. Like you said, I definitely slept longer than I should have. So even though I thought that because I was getting 10, 11 hours of sleep, my circadian rhythms were thrown completely out of whack, man. So now, I get consistently, 6 to 7 hours of sleep. I make sure that I go to bed at least by 9:30 at the latest, because I got to be up at 4:45 every day to take full advantage of that magic hour. I can hit that gym, I can meditate, I can journal, and pretty much set myself up for success that day. So when did you come into the understanding of the importance of sleep and implement that into your life to achieve optimum results?
I think I'm naturally ambitious. And what you realize is sometimes that ambition cuts into your sleep, and also it cuts into your effectiveness, essentially, right? And so I realized if I'm able to have a dedicated time, that I cut things off and I turn off all my devices, right? My smart device, TVs, which I don't watch TV, but just turning off everything, that I'm able to get into that deep sleep, if you will. And like you said, waking up in the early mornings, now I'm able to meditate and pray and start my day. I just found that I was more effective. Now, don't get me wrong, there are certain days that I'm in grit mode, because I'm dealing with a business issue, and I got to pull a 16-hour, because I was working 100 hours a week. 100 hours, no joke. Because when you have a business and you have people that are counting on you, you got to continue to go. And I was using the weekends to catch up on my rest. Now with systems, obviously, and having a great leadership team, I've been able to cut that time down. But the other thing that you mentioned 11 hours, it's good quality. I mean, because honestly, I can get a good 6 hours if I'm in a deep sleep, right? So, but it took time to get there, and also getting my water, particularly earlier in the day, that helped as well.
Absolutely. And that's a perfect segue to your next point, or component rather, the food. Because your food, the times in which you eat, the quality of foods that you eat impact that as well. One of the things that I had to change or curtail was the fact that I would eat late and then I would eat this heavy meal, not realizing that, okay, the first 2 hours of sleep, right, is really dedicated to the digestion of food. So even though my body, I'm turned off cognitively and I think I'm resting, my body's working in overdrive. And it's working even harder because I put something heavy and something bad into it. So a normal 2-hour process to filter all of that out may be about 4 hours because of the crap that I just ate. So now I thought I got 8 hours of sleep when really I only got 3 to 4 hours of sleep. And now I'm waking up groggy and I have no freaking idea why. Right. So, and then with your heavy emphasis on the gym, if you can sort of break down what a proper diet should be, that would be great.
Yeah. So one thing is I want to expand from what you said about eating late. And you're right. What a lot of people don't realize is you have 3 minds, right? You have your conscious mind, you have your subconscious, and then you have your gut. You've heard of, the gut, reaction, a gut feeling.
Right.
And you're right, the gut is still working overtime. And in fact, I'm still fasting from yesterday, right, itself. So let's talk about a diet itself. So when you think about, and as a man ages, there are certain nutrients, right, that you have to supplement, right? So outside of diet, also looking at, supplements and things of that nature, your B1s, your B2s. But what I do is I make sure that I got a good quality, you mentioned quality, good quality protein. And I have a good carb, because you got different types of carbs. And then also I'll do a sweet potato as well as some broccoli. But I do small meals throughout the day so my body can digest those. And usually I do between 3 to 4 small meals throughout the day. And here's the thing is that I meal prep on Sundays. And my secret, honestly, is grilled chicken. And like I said, the brown rice, sweet potato, and then the broccoli. And then what I do is I'll just make these little small meals throughout the day, ensuring that I get my water. And that's typically Monday through Thursday. And then on Friday is hey, I can hang out and have something that I want day, right? So, but everyone has their own diet. The thing I tell people is that find something that works for you. And a lot of times you got to sit back and you got to assess to see if it's working for you. And if not, start to tweak. I've been working out for a long time. And I just started this diet probably a few years back, but it's been the best thing ever.
Gotcha. That's awesome. And I wanted to touch on something mainly for the viewers, because you said something and you hit it right on the head. We do have 3 brains, right? But I want to break it down from a psychological level as well as from a biological level. Okay, so you're right. There is a brain in our guts, right? And it's called the ENS, and that's the enteric nervous system, right? And it connects to the base of the brain via a nerve called the vagus nerve, right? So when we're eating all of this improper food, when we're inundated with drugs, alcohol, right? Our gut feelings are essentially not on our team anymore. Because they're fueled now by all of this garbage. And what we need to realize is that all of these energies, whether it's esoteric, whether it's the lower level emotions like lack, like envy, like greed, once those things are in the world, 3-dimensional reality, they have to follow the rules of 3-dimensional reality, meaning they have to eat, they have to subsist in order to live, right? So that garbage that we're eating, right, directly links to, because they're feeding those lower level emotions, which contributes greatly to that fight or flight or that survival state or that traumatic state, right? So I think that many people, providing they listen and really absorb what you're saying, will be able to understand and take that to heart, the importance of a balanced diet.
Can I say something,
Please.
brother? Because I've asked this question for a while about the brain, the minds rather, and you nailed it when we talking about the gut and the gut being the mind. Here's the thing is that typically when disease and illness sets in, it usually starts in the gut. There's something called leaky gut, right? And there are so many books that's out on it, but you are spot on as it pertains to the gut and how it affects the overall body itself. The other thing is there's so many amazing books on health, and I dealt with a situation some years back, and I'm a left brainer, I'm super analytical, and I'm good at looking at IP addresses, but I literally went through this this book, and I read up on the body and how it works and the nervous system and God's creation. I was like, wow. And coming out of that, it just made me want to have a more quality diet, supplements, rest, to see how this machine works, right? Our subconscious processes 400 bits of information per second, right? So it's working for us. So anyway, I know I kind of derailed a little bit, but I just want to say, yeah, man, yeah, good stuff.
Absolutely. So water, man,
Yeah.
The importance of water, because I see you all the time with your water intake.
Yeah.
And you actually inspire me, right?
Yeah.
Because I definitely need to do better. I think I've improved tremendously,
Yeah.
but there's definitely another level I need to get to, namely yours.
Yeah. Well, the thing with water, if you think about it, and I'm saying water because I just came from South Africa, and the audience, they're drinking some water, I got some water here. But water is life. If you think about it, at the end of the day, this is life, right? Because we're 60% water, right? Our bodies, right? And so when you think about the intake, so Mayo Clinic recommends 125 ounces of water per day for a male, particularly because we have more muscle mass than the female, right? So 125 ounces, that's roughly about a gallon, a little bit less than a gallon of water. And so what I did on my journey is I have a cup, a large cup, and I just make sure that I fill it up throughout the day. It's a canister, not a cup, rather. And I had to gradually get there. But what I noticed is that my skin also improved as well, the more water that I drank. And I just got accustomed to it. Now, the thing about it, obviously, trying to go to bed at a certain time, you got to get your water in early, because I'm going to let you know it does work on you late at night. But especially if you're working out, I do a lot of extensive cardio, making sure that you stay, flush with water.
Absolutely. And another tip about water, for just overall cognitive function. So our brain essentially sits in a water sac.
Yeah.
Right. And a lot of us, I remember I did an episode on this a few months back. And I feel like this area is very important, because a lot of us unknowingly are walking around severely dehydrated.
Right.
If there was a way for us to become 100% fully cognizant of our beings right now, miraculously in this moment, and we realized how dehydrated we were, I would wager that a great percentage of us would probably freak out and go into cardiac arrest, knowing how dehydrated that they are. And a lot of us, when we feel what we think are sensations of hunger, is actually your body telling you that you are severely thirsty. Yeah.
If I can add to that, there's I think it's called a CMP, but there's a pool where you get your results of the kidneys, liver, you name it, and pretty regularly, I need to know where I'm at, right? And so there's some called creatinine, basically. So if the more creatinine you have, that means that your kidneys are not working as they should. And so that can be attributed, obviously, to water. It also can be attributed to too much protein. People don't realize you can actually get too much protein, right? There's a supplement called creatine. I tell guys, do not take creatine, because your body produces creatine, right? you don't want to have to deal with a kidney situation, right? And that was part of a situation that I went through years back, okay? Kidneys shut down, didn't know what happened, right? It was some vaccines, it wasn't COVID, right? So that's why I wanted to find out about the body. And when I found out how the body works and the importance not only of water and right protein, I just completely had that mind shift. The other thing is alcohol. Right. So it's holiday time. A lot of folks been, drinking it up. Right. So here's a trick for those that do consume. Here's the thing right here is that when we're engaged in a conversation, the alcohol is like a mental agent in that it relaxes an individual. And what I tell folks is that if you're having a beer, in between that, substitute it with water.
Yes.
Because your brain doesn't know the difference, right? And so what you're doing is you're hydrating yourself, right? And you can still maintain that buzz. You're going to save money at the end of the day, right? So that's just a tip that I want to share. It's not part of.
No, this is definitely part of this. Yeah.
Yeah.
Absolutely. And a little bit about that. Okay, so your brain has what's called a blood-brain barrier.
Yep.
And that blood-brain barrier pretty much serves as a barrier. It blocks things from entering into the brain. Typically, what your body secretes, right, on a neurological level. So your dopamine, your serotonin, your oxytocin, right, and even cortisol. So when we inject alcohol, what happens is that alcohol is able to pass that blood-brain barrier, right? And it throws off your dopamine secretion, meaning it produces a whole bunch of dopamine that your brain, it basically sends it into overload.
Yep.
So you may have heard the phrase liquid courage, right?
Yes.
So there's a beautiful girl sitting over there,
Yes.
and I won't talk to her, right?
Yeah.
But after 2, maybe 3 drinks, then I'll do it because my dopamine, right, is at an overcharge right now because the blood-brain barrier is essentially rendered ineffective, right? And after we keep indulging, it severely impairs our judgment.
Yeah. But anyway, so one thing within the book, I just want to elaborate on that.
Please.
Here's the thing right here is that when a man adds value to himself, he becomes the man that no woman can forget and every woman can't resist. Okay? With these tips right here. Okay? So essentially, like you said, that blood-brain barrier, essentially you've broken through because the confidence that you have, and that's what the alcohol does, right? It gives you this imaginary confidence. But imagine if you could have that all day, right? Essentially, because when you feel good about yourself, it's like energy. You don't see energy, you feel energy, right?
Absolutely.
Essentially. So anyway, I just want to elaborate that you get these tips. I'm not saying you don't have to drink, but you feel good about yourself.
Right. And you do. You feel good about yourself. But the trick in that is when we're not balanced, what we think is that there's an external stimulus.
Yeah.
The drink, the beautiful girl, or whatever that thing on the outside is responsible for either making me feel good or bad. Not realizing that elevated emotions such as joy, gratitude, peace, unconditional love are actually states that you can produce internally, completely independent of any external stimulus. So in my phone throughout the day, I started this practice. So I have 4 alarms set throughout my day. And when that alarm goes off, whether I'm at work, whether I'm in the gym, if I'm talking to someone, as soon as that alarm goes off, I immediately stop what I'm doing and I practice cultivating those emotions internally. And Joe Dispenza actually teaches about this, and it's very profound. When you do that, you're literally training your body on a neurological and biological level to produce, like your body literally changes. Your cells literally change because of this internal state that you're producing. And then you do it so long, the habit kicks in, and then you realize, in retrospect that, wow, I'm actually feeling the way that I want to feel without being a consumer.
Yeah. Well, it's interesting you said that, right? Because I've always asked myself, I've always been a happy person. Why am I happy, right? And just in doing that, because when you serve, right, when you have gratitude, if you're ever sad, this is the number one trick. Just go and help somebody else in need. Right?
Absolutely.
Seriously, if you take yourself out of that situation and you just go and help and you go and volunteer, it's something about that. You feel great when you come back. And to your point, you know, you have your time set where you're creating that moment of happiness and love and joy, because happiness is not what's happening around you, but rather what's happening within you. So that means that you can create it 24/7 internal instead of it being external. Because if it's a Boo or a Bugatti or a car, it's only going to be temporary. If that makes any sense, though.
Absolutely.
And we can create as much happiness and as much joy as we want to. Before I left Johannesburg, I wept. I had to run into the restroom. And I'm going to tell you why. The reason is because so many folks were interested in the program, and they were talking about how this would change their life. From bank managers to folks working in the hotel industry, you name it. And just to see that vision was coming together, right? And I spent so many days in my room from the morning to the evening, working, planning, working, and just to see it come together. And I just had to run to the restroom, and I said, it was just so many, it was tears of joy. To your point, right?
Absolutely.
So again, you can create it by serving, you know? And so even just being here, you know, I'm happy because I know I'm contributing to this platform that's going to help so many others.
Absolutely. And then lastly, sex.
Yeah.
We all know sex is great. Sex makes you feel good.
Yeah.
Viva la sex.
Yeah.
Sex everything.
Yeah.
But sexual transmutation.
Yeah.
I want to go back to that.
Yeah.
Because a lot of us, men, myself included at a point, we're severely over-sexed.
Yeah.
We don't, and so we're indulging in this thing, absent or just completely, blatantly disregarding the fact that semen is a life-producing agent and a life-sustaining agent.
Yeah.
And because of our imbalance, whether inadvertent or blatant, we are robbing ourselves of life force, right?
Yeah.
And then in addition to that, we live in a society where we're inundated with lust at every turn, right? Businesses use lust to sell products. You know, the oldest profession in the world, which we know, right? So everything is lust and sex. Not to mention, when we're oversexed, in addition to the lack of water, it drastically causes your cognitive ability to decline. So what is sexual transmutation, and why is it important, particularly for men at this particular time in our community?
Yeah, because think about it. It's the strongest pulling power for man. So if you think about from that biological standpoint, to your point, the example you gave earlier with the blood-brain barrier and having a dream, you know, for the beautiful woman, right? It's a physical calling. But if you can take that and you can transmute that into a vision that's much bigger than yours, because that time, that energy that you would take and, you know, buying a car, getting the drink, trying to, you know, show that person that you are important. Essentially what you're doing is you're investing that into your dream itself. And here's the thing is that distractions break dreams in slow motion, right? So when you think about, you're getting something, but she's trading her body for your time. And I mentioned earlier, time is the most important, you know, resource that we have. So I would recommend men to really think about what I just said in terms of what is your vision, right? Your vision is going to be your what, what's your mission, which is going to be your how, and then what's your purpose, which is going to be your why. That's the first thing you should do, right? And then take that urge, right? And then align that with that vision. Because let me tell you something is that, and I said this before, when a man finds his mission, he finds his mate at the end of the day. Right? And it's not about the physical. I think that's a part of it, right? It's something much deeper than just the physical connection. It really has to be spiritual, and it has to be servanthood. So I think that's at a high level. that's it. You know, being able to transmute that into a higher purpose, essentially, and allow that urge to pull you, because it will. And again, this is not something I've read in the book. This is something I've done. I've taken myself to, and I think that's why I've been so effective and been so disciplined and focused and just generous also with my time and effort and things I've done to make the world a better place. We have a mission. I don't want to derail. I want to stay on that. We have a mission, and God dropped this in my lap. I got a business. I got a nonprofit. He said, "Year 2050, I want you to eradicate poverty." I said, "Are you serious, God?" Right? True story. So now that's one of the missions, and I wrote a concept paper when I was over in Africa, how we can eradicate poverty. And it's 5 areas. The first is making sure folks have access to health care. The second is making sure that education is in place, basic literacy. The third is making sure there's clean water. You got more kids dying from just not having clean water in parts of Africa. The fourth is ensuring that folks have jobs. And then the fifth is affordable housing, because you can have a job, but you got to be able to afford it. So again, I tell you all that because that sexual transmutation is driving me to that higher purpose. And I put that together. And so what we're doing is we're connecting with other nonprofits that align to one of those 5 areas. And we're using the G7, the G20 concept, the G7, the wealthiest nations, countries, they get together every year, talk about best practices, social issues, you name it. We're doing it. And I have 2 NGOs that are interested in joining. So again, I'm just telling you, I'm using that for this, and that's huge.
Absolutely,
right? So,
absolutely,
anyway.
Absolutely. And I love how you constructed this manuscript, right? Because I can tell that you put a lot of thought into this. Because once you attack each of those 4 areas, right, and you become bulletproof in those areas. Then you can pivot to your next tip, which is defining wealth. And you have an excellent quote here. Broke men talk about things, rich men talk about money, but wealthy men talk mindset. Talk to us a little bit about that.
If you think about it, right? And it was Carol, I forget her last name. She came with the concept, fixed mindset, growth mindset at the end of the day. And so if you think about money is just a certificate, right? And it guarantees that a good or service in exchange for the value of the certificate, right? So money isn't wealth. I tell folks, right? Wealth is really how you think, right? How you process and the service that you give. So that's mindset. So when you think about a man of wealth, it's really the W, if I can go
Please,
through it. Okay.
please.
So, all right. So if you think about it, the W stands for he's wise, right? And people have told me, "You're wise." I'm like, and I had to look up the definition. What is wisdom, right? But all wisdom is, and you can go back to the Bible, it's not just getting information. So we're inundated with so much information that's out there on the internet and all of these different publications, but it's the understanding of that information. I said that earlier. Stop reading books and start understanding what you're reading and applying it to your life. So it's understanding the information, because life is lived moving forward, but it's truly understood when we look backwards. So sometimes you have to stop and reflect and look at, okay, well, why did I go down here and make a left? And then just go down and make it right? And so that's what it's all about at the end of the day, is getting, he's wise. Okay. And then the I stands for he's intelligent, right? So when you think about wisdom and then having the intelligence, and information shouldn't just lead to knowledge, it should lead to action. So.
Absolutely. Perfect segue. So in talking about wealth, you have an incredible acronym for wealth here. Let's break that down.
Okay.
Because I think people can really benefit from that.
Okay. So the W is wisdom. Mm-hmm. Okay. And so the E is that he's educated. And as I mentioned earlier, so it's not educated in the sense that he has more degrees than a thermostat, right? But he's educated in a way that the education is leading to something of action, and not just saying that I have a certificate or have a degree, right? And then when you think about the A, he's adventurous, right? And when you think about that, when you step outside your comfort zone, okay, so for example, I took singing lessons last year, right? Trying something new that stretches to grow you, right? So he's adventurous, right? When you think about the L, right, it's leadership, right? And leadership, and it's funny because I saw someone over in Africa and they had a shirt that said leader on it. And I told him, I said, you know, you're not a leader because you have a title that says leader. A leader is a person that takes initiative. A leader is a person that sees a need and feels that need. You're a leader. You're taking initiative because this is to help others. And leadership is one of those qualities that a lot of men are missing. And you see it a lot in the households these days, right? You know, it's funny. I just left church not too long ago, and I see the wives. Well, we're going to sit over here. Let's sit over. You know, I mean, there's some leadership there, and I think a lot of guys, they've gotten lax in that realm, right? Because a lot of the households, you know, women are single women running these households, right? So, and then when you think about the T, time management, he's a planner. Right? He organizes like you, making sure that this was set up, right? And then when you think about the H, he prioritizes his health. And we talked about that earlier. He understands his numbers. He understands there are checkups, right? Because here's the thing, you're going to pay somebody. You're going to pay the doctor. You're going to pay the farmer, right? Or somebody's going to pay the mortician at the end of the day. And his lack of planning should not become her emergency. It's so many guys that I've seen that if I'm sick, I don't really want to know about it. But now you've cast that burden onto the girlfriend or the wife and the children, and they have to deal with it, right? And this is a personal story. I didn't want to bring it up, but I have to bring it up. I had a loss in my family.
Sorry to hear
right?
that.
Yeah, and it was a loss, but it was unexpected, and it caused a ripple effect in the family. But now, who has to stand up? I got to stand up, right? You know, in terms of, you know, being there and being supportive and things of that nature. So it's so mental illness, and it goes back to mental illness.
Absolutely.
Right? It was definitely that had something to do with it as well too. So we got to get help, guys. Seriously. So when you think about becoming a man of wealth, you know, start with wisdom and learning and understanding, prioritizing health, and just having fun, because life is beautiful. It is. And we all find ourselves in situations. And someone asked me the other day, they said, man, you are always positive. I said, well, I am the most positive person that I know. But the net of it is that, you know, there are certain things that happen to me. But what I do is I see the opportunity in the problem. I don't see the problem in the opportunity, right? Does that make sense? Because on the other side of a problem is an opportunity, right? And I don't fail at anything. Fails at its first attempt in learning, not losing.
Absolutely.
Right.
Absolutely. So when I effectively implement all of the elements found within your wealth acronym, then that sort of prepares me for your next tip, which is effectively coming up with decision-making strategies.
Oh, yeah. That's my favorite. One of my favorites.
Please.
Yeah, gotcha. Okay. Here's the thing right here. Decisions are so powerful. You know, we make, on average, 227 decisions in terms of what we're going to eat. Seriously. All right. Just think about it. Do I want lettuce? Do I want tomatoes? You name it, right? And then on average, we make 33,000 decisions every single day. Well, some are cognitive, and then you got subconscious. Have you ever driven home and your subconscious just takes over, right?
Absolutely.
Right? So when you think about making a decision, you make decisions, but then you have to manage the decision, right? So you can make the decision, but then you have to deal with the consequence. So I tell guys, have a system for making decisions. Now, this is my system. The first thing that I do, sometimes it's hard, you know, especially when you're waiting on a loud result. Is it negative? Is it positive? You know, I think we've all been there, right? Is it that C word? There's a tumor and you're gonna have to go in for labs, right? So, but what I do is I always go up, right? I go up because when I go up, I go to the divine. I go up. Hey, you didn't bring me this far to bring me this far, right? Because I gotta go up and I gotta get that perspective and that guidance. But then when I go up, then I go in, right? This little peanut brain can't figure out what he can, but I'm a cybersecurity guy. I think, I know a little something, but then I can go in because I think Joe Dispenza talks about the brain is just a record of the past, right?
Exactly.
So a lot of times we're making decisions, we always go back to the past.
Right.
You find yourself dating someone that you dated before because that's what you're familiar with, right? So I go up and then I go in, right? How did I deal with it last time? I dealt with that situation. I was waiting on those loud results. It came out positive, or I had to deal with something. Guess what? We got good medication. It worked out well. I kept a positive attitude. And then the last thing I do is I go out. When I go out to my network of people that I love and I trust, and I know that's going to give me good quality advice, if that makes any sense. And that helps me out because I think a lot of times, we just make a decision, right? So it's out. So that's my face.
Yeah, I like that. And just for the viewership, some of the ways that I've been able to become more effective in my decision making is through study, of course. And a couple of things that I learned is that the brain, you have on a daily basis a certain amount of effective computing power or cognitive ability each day. And as your day goes on, it begins to wane.
Right.
So because you have a thing called decision fatigue. And when you look at yourself, highly successful functioning people that we look up to, your Jeff Bezos, the late Steve Jobs, Elon Musk, so on and so forth, right? They'll try to eliminate as many of the superficial decisions as possible in order to preserve that decision-making or cognitive ability. So keep that in mind. And then one of the things that I like to do is when I get to work, I try to segment my day. And the things that are going to, the decisions rather, that are going to require the most energy, the most, I don't want to say difficult, let's just leave it at energy, right? The most amount of focus. I want to attack those things first when my cognitive abilities are at their highest.
Wow.
And then as they begin to wane throughout the day, then I move into some of the easier decisions to ensure that I'm still making quality decisions because those decisions don't require as much cognitive ability. And then one thing that you can implement is called the Pomodoro technique, where you take 25 minutes of hard focus and then you break that up with 5 minutes of rest. So whatever you're doing, you focus on it intently for 25 minutes, and then each 25 minutes, you take that 5-minute break and you sort of recharge yourself. So just some food for thought there, hopefully for some beneficial takeaways.
Yeah, I like that. The other thing I like that, and also within that 25 minutes, one thing that's helped me out, because I have to make a lot of decisions. I have to make decisions, leadership decisions, the nonprofit, the for-profit, family. So we're always making these decisions. And something else I do is I need to decide now, right? So I'll stay in whatever I'm dealing with, and I get it to a point, 80%, 90% to your point, and I may walk away, take a walk, and I come back and I try to finish that 20%. Or I'll some decisions I can delegate. I can delegate to my team, right? I said that's a low level, not just a low level decision, but it's a decision that I trust that they can answer it. Because if they can answer it at least 80% as best as I can, let them. And then what they'll do is they'll bring it back, and then I can add the other 20% to it, to the point you were making earlier, because you'll get fatigued dealing with all of the decisions. And then last but not least, delete. I like delete, right? Because we get so much stuff that come in. Make a decision. Delete. Because there was a time stuff will come in. I said, okay, I'll move it into this folder, because at some point I'm gonna come back and take a look at it. But it's certain things that it's not worth my time. You want to call and save me $20 on a phone bill, and I can make $20,000 in the same amount of time, right? No offense, thank you for calling me, but I need to delete this right here because there are other things I need to get done. But that was really good what you shared, man, really good. So I'm gonna make sure I look at this video at least 2 or 3 times.
Absolutely, man, and you're certainly dropping a wealth of knowledge as well, and we are certainly appreciative of it. So tip 4, succession planning.
Oh wow.
And legacy.
Oh wow.
Which is something that's sorely lacking, particularly within our community and with men, essentially.
Wow.
I struggled there as well.
Wow.
Right? Full transparency.
Wow. Let me tell you this right here. I started succession planning years ago, Because here's the thing right here. I'm a realist. This is just a space costume that I have on. Right?
Okay.
Seriously. And I look at it that way. And I said, the best thing about life is death. Right? And my mom's like, what do you mean death? What? Because it puts us on a timetable. Right? And if we know we're going to die, why would you plan? Right? People plan their vacations better than they plan their life. If you think about it, right? And so when I think about succession planning, I get excited about it. And my daughter can tell you, I mean, since she was 13, I'm like, okay, this is what we're gonna do here. But when I think about succession planning, I like what John Maxwell said is that, and legacy rather, an inheritance is something that you leave for someone, but legacy is something that you leave in someone, right? And Miles Monroe said this, and I love it. Don't leave the world your money, just your money rather. Leave the world your mentee, right? So when you think about leaving this, like whatever this is, this wisdom, I got to duplicate myself somehow, right? And I think I do a lot of that in mentoring. I do a lot of that in writing these ebooks. I do a lot of that in being present. But let's just talk about the wealth aspect of succession planning, because here's the thing is that I lost my dad at 49 years old. He's 49 years old when I lost my pops, okay? Mm-hmm. So when I lost my pops, it was mom, it was my younger sister. And I had a family, and now I got to take care of mom and younger sister. And so pops didn't know anything about financial literacy and things of that nature. And so all of that now was on my shoulders, right? And so the net of it, mom got mom a house, she's doing well, and he's taken care of. I said, but if I can build a trust, and I really started looking into a trust, because I would hear about the trust, and it's like, that's for rich people, right? A trust, right? Right. And so I built a trust, and with that trust, I took all of my assets, the houses, the cars, and then basically they're in the trust. And you think about a trust like a pizza, right? So what you do is you divide it up at that point, right? And you can say, okay, well, up on my demise, guess what? X percentage of the trust can go to blah, 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 all right? So, and I like what a grandmother did. She did this just for putting her house in a trust. She stated that the house cannot be sold, but the house can be rented out for my grandchildren to go to college. And so now she's been able to put her grandchildren. You don't hear what I'm talking about, okay? That's one example. Imagine if you had stock in an E-Trade or a Fidelity account, and that stock kept investing, like NVIDIA. NVIDIA is on fire right now. It's $144 a share. And my mom, we got into it early, right? And imagine it's going to be over $2,000, here soon. But that's in your trust. And then the dividends, because you get dividends on stocks every quarter, the dividends go back. So now you're creating this golden goose that's getting bigger. You got the house in there and the value's going up. So many things that you can do. So that's part of the financial piece. But now, what about the leadership qualities? What about taking my mindset? How do I inject that into my son, right? Those are things you got to start early. And what I do is I expose people, because whatever you lack in experience, you gain in exposure. That's a quote right there by itself, right? So that's why I brought them over to Africa. And it was expensive, don't get me wrong, but you can't unsee what you've seen. You can't unhear what you've heard, right? So now they've seen that experience itself. But having them go to leadership conferences like a John Maxwell conference, right? Those types of things, because he's heard that. But now hearing these other people as well. And it's a combination of those. But I tell every guy, you gotta have a succession plan. Just start somewhere with something. And I'm very passionate about this. I got something that's in place right now. And what we're doing is we're doing like the Rockefellers. Are you familiar with the Rockefellers?
Yes.
What they did? Okay.
Yeah. You're referring to his trust, right?
Yeah.
Yes.
I have that in place.
Ironclad. You have it in place?
Yeah. That's what I have in place. So just so I can, at a high level, basically you had the Vanderbilts and you had the Rockefellers back in the day, right? Rockefeller had equivalent to, $400,000 million, which would be a few billion, to say the least, these days, right? And then you had the Vanderbilts, right? They had equal, probably a little less fortune. But the net of it is the Vanderbilts, the way they structure their trust is that every generation you got X amount from the trust. And so they pretty much bankrupt their trust within 3 generations. Where that Rockefellers, what they did is they took whole life insurance, essentially, and they basically borrowed from the cash value of it. They essentially became their own bank. And when folks would pass, the value would just stay within the trust itself. And then in order to access the trust, you have to have a trust. So they had like this tree branch relationship, and it's just amazing. And the same with their investments. And that's the same thing that we're doing essentially. So what happens is that this is my 3,000 year plan. The wealth just continues to rise and rise and rise, and ensuring that you have a leadership plan in place along with that. To me, it just makes sense. I get so excited about it. And my kids say, "You getting so excited about dying?" And I'm getting excited to know my program and my system is going to work out to me. So.
Absolutely. Yeah. So in summation, again, I just want to reiterate, I love what you've done here, right? Because from a mental health standpoint, I feel like you're hitting a lot of the essential nails on the head.
Yeah.
So it's like you address your areas of trauma, you address your mental health deficiencies via this blueprint. That begets a level of awareness, which enables you to finally think clearly about yourself, and then in turn gives you the ability to think beyond the self, your immediate family, your extended family, to your community, and then ultimately the world.
Yes.
So lastly, man, every time I see you, you've given us a wealth of knowledge today.
Yeah.
But I always ask you for a word.
Yeah.
Give the people something.
Yeah. Well, one thing if I had to say is that, discipline will get you started. Motivation gets you started, but discipline will get you finished. And the words that I've shared and he shared, do the thing and have the power. I tell people, just do something. Use what you got, where you are, but just move. That's it. And sometimes even if you're moving in the wrong direction, because what I find a lot, and I've spoken on a lot of stages, is people get excited and they say, well, you are a great motivational speaker. I'm not a motivational speaker. I just speak with motivation. If anything, I want to be a transformational speaker. So I always say my one word is just do something with a piece of information that you have, and do it today. It makes a big, big difference. And then something else I want to say, and these are some quotes that I came up with a number of years ago, is that, here's the thing right here. If you don't take action and plan, you'll always work for someone that takes action and plan. Think about it, right? That dream that you have is there for a reason, okay? And it's not for you, but it's for the people that are around you. Growth and complacency cannot coexist in the same space at the same time and deliver the same results, okay? Think about it. And I did this yesterday, so I can say I did it. Try putting your foot on the brake and then pressing the gas pedal. What happens?
You're going to stall.
You're going to stall. You're going to create a lot of smoke. You're going to make a lot of noise, and you're not going to go anywhere, right? And I did that yesterday, all right? But what happens when you take your foot off the brake and you have your foot on the gas, right? Like that. And that's been my life, y'all. And so you can go out to the YouTube and see all the motivational videos and all the things that we're doing. But that's the story. And it was just a person that had this obsession. And I came up with this acronym. This is another one. It's called CORE, C-O-R-E. Be clear about what it is that you want in life. You got to be clear. The O stands for you have to be obsessed. Obsession beats talent when talent doesn't have any obsession, right? And then the R is relentless, right? You got to get it. And then the E is you got to execute at the end of the day. That's why I said just do something, right? But I love you. I appreciate you having me on this platform. And again, a stage is for performance, but a platform is for influence, right? This is for influence.
Absolutely.
This is for the U.S. We got some folks in Africa that's going to eat on this as well, too. And I got a feeling that we're going to do this many, many more times as well.
You are always invited. Brother Renault, I appreciate your time, man. Absolutely. Listen, if you found value here, and it's my sincere hope that you did, then please comment, like, subscribe, follow the You vs. You podcast on YouTube, Facebook, Instagram, and TikTok. And keep checking me out, and we'll keep busting this thing down. Peace.
Let's clear our heads of it.
That was dope,
I'm so
man.
good now. I
That
feel
was dope.
good now. The baggage put down. Just let me live. Just let me live. Now my mind's clear. It's you versus you. It's you versus you. It's you versus you. It's you versus you.